Hi, it's Natha. Welcome to another month. It is August. Wanted to remind you that I have launched season 4 of my podcast talking about spiritual navigation tools with practitioners from around the world. I'm also releasing new teachings every single month into my Hidden Wisdom Astrology Circle. And we're talking about the nodes and Venus in retrograde. We'll be talking about Mercury retrograde and more. This Hidden Wisdom Astrology Circle is all about combining psychological, spiritual, and astrological principles into your own life so that you can soothe your nervous system and understand yourself on a deeper level and just feel better. So check that out, electraastrology.com. All right, let's talk about August. So first of all, we're in the middle of this Venus retrograde, and Venus retrograde will go through the entirety of August. We'll go into September. We have been in the shadow of it since June, so it's not new energy, but Venus is officially moving backward. And one of the things to pay attention to as we tap into the energy of Venus in the sign of Leo is looking around your life and making some determinations about whether you are living in alignment with a life that is truly you. And that includes looking at the places that you are holding on to things that you don't like, just simply out of habit, or where you are missing things that are really amazing in your life because you just aren't looking in that direction. Venus is all about the things that we want more of and about the things that we can generate, we can create. However, these things don't just fall into our laps. They don't just arrive. It takes conscious effort. It makes me think of a client that I had that said, I just get so irritated and angry and I can't help myself. I snap at people and I get crabby and I don't know why. And we all have those tendencies where when we're under stress, we react in a certain way. But to think that we have no control over those reactions would be incorrect. And as Venus travels through the sign of Leo in retrograde, we begin to, or rather we have the invitation to take back our personal power. And our personal power isn't just about standing up and saying no and holding boundaries. It is about paying attention to our internal experience and having boundaries with ourselves, not overreacting, not ignoring our needs, pushing ourselves to have the courage to do something we know we need, and not overlooking the good stuff. Many of my clients say, well, I just want to know when it's going to get better. Like, when is this transit going to end? And I say, it's not about a time or a delineation of this is hard and this is easy now, but it's more about taking the 24-hour period of your day. And yes, things are going to be hard during that day. Yes, you will have moments of reactivity. And yes, there are moments where everything is beautiful. The air smells amazing. The food tastes delicious. Your friend makes you laugh. And so part of Venus retrograde is the reminder that life is good. Life is good. And you want to look around and see where you block yourself from realizing that. We also have Pluto in a square to the nodes as we begin the month of August. Now, Pluto has been in a square to the nodes for a week, and technically it will be for a few more weeks. The exact squaring of the nodes was in late July, but we're still under this influence. And the nodes in Libra and Aries have just changed signs. And so now our mission, our collective mission, has also changed energies. Right at the same time that Pluto is making a square. So if we are with a South Node Libra meant to look at the dysfunctional agreements that we have in our relationships, meaning we don't talk about that, or they always do that to me and I just kind of ignore it, or they're easy to snap at and they never really say anything about it. Like, we have very strong agreements with the people that we're in partnership with. And this is romantic partnership, but also just people that we're in relationship with. Unless you're looking for them, they just become so habitual that you don't notice them. But the next 18 months, you'll get to notice them and you'll get to say, do I like this agreement? Does this feel good to me? Does it feel good to them? And ideally, if the answer is no, then you look to release that agreement, while at the same time moving into that North Node Aries energy, which says, I have to advocate for myself, I have to be independent, and I have to move toward my desires. Not always at the cost of my relationships, though. This is a symbiotic relationship between Libra and Aries. It's not one or the other. It's not the relationship or me. It is, how can I coexist, be autonomous, love myself enough to advocate for myself and be my own biggest fan, while also having beautiful relationships. So these are the questions for the next 18 months, among others. And Pluto squaring will bring up your subconscious stuff. So if you're somebody that's terrified of relationships, you're going to see that. If you're somebody that has blinders on to what you want and need because you're always paying attention to what your partner wants and needs, you're going to see that too. On August 1st, lots happening right at the beginning of the month. On August 1st, we have a full moon at 9 degrees of Aquarius. It is in a square to Jupiter. Aquarius energy is the energy of the collective, and the sun will be in Leo. That's the energy of self. So this is a full moon time that always brings you some sort of interesting inquiry into who am I and who am I when I'm surrounded by all these people? What makes me me, but what is my role in the world? How do I show up for myself and honor myself while also making sure that I'm honoring my fellow humans? So look to answer some of these questions for yourself. On August 16th, we have a new moon in Leo at 23 degrees of Leo. The sun and the moon are there together. This is going to not be exact with the Venus retrograde, but the energy it's all in the soup. Again, these are questions of, am I living my best life? Not from a superficial, I'm partying, vacationing around the world, having so much fun, kind of living my best life, but am I living my best life? Am I showing up? Am I keeping my commitments? Am I honoring myself? Am I honoring others? If I were going to look back at this time period in my life, would I be proud? Would I feel as if I had really shown up? These are Leo questions. You know, Leo wants to be seen and acknowledged. And of course, we want that from the people that are outside of us in some respects. But we have to also see and acknowledge ourselves. And it is easier to do that when we are moving about our lives with a sense of dignity, a sense of responsibility, and a sense of honor. And in our culture where we glorify acting crazy, or we glorify looks, we glorify some of these things that just are completely meaningless, and then we feel empty. This is a month, this is a year, this is a time period with this Venus retrograde in the sign of Leo of saying enough with the emptiness, enough with showing off and trying to make sure that I'm wearing the right clothes and I'm saying the right things. Like, it's all very superficial. And the truth, the big question is, am I living a life that I'm proud of? Those are questions for you to contemplate. On August 23rd, Mercury goes retrograde in the sign of Virgo. There's a lot of retrograde action right now, and it is a slowdown. But when we have a retrograde, it allows us to really sort through and process the information. Mercury, the planet of the mind, going retrograde in Virgo, a sign that it rules, really asks you to slow down your mind. One thing to think about with Mercury in Virgo, Virgo is a sign of doing. The other sign that Mercury rules is Gemini, which is the sign of thinking. So there's something important about not overthinking during this. But in fact, maybe showing up and just doing what needs to be done. You've heard that saying, chop wood, carry water, which is essentially a practice of just showing up and doing what needs to be done, developing your habits, making sure that you have the right rituals, teeth that have to be brushed twice a day, water that has to be sipped throughout the day. These are boring things, and yet they do form the structure of our health, of our nervous system. So this is not a time with Mercury retrograde in Virgo to be overthinking. and to be trying to seek out the answer. Where are the answers? I've got to find the answers. But rather a time to settle into the here and the now and do what needs to be done. Very practical, very small actions that lead to better mental health, better sense of stability, better relationship to the body. Finally, on August 24th, we have the sun entering Virgo. The sun in Virgo is a time of harvest traditionally in the Northern Hemisphere. And so imagine, again, this energy of what needs to be done, what needs to be accomplished. And we're not looking at the mountains that need to be climbed. We're looking at the preparations, the small things that need to be done before we climb the mountain. So Virgo things, while they're not exactly monumental, they are the grease that keep the wheels going. So many of my clients right now are coming to me saying, I know there's something else out there. I know I'm supposed to be doing something. I'm supposed to be healing something. I'm wanting to make a decision. I'm trying to find an answer. And this is not really a time that big answers are going to arrive. This is just the time in between where we just keep going. All right. I hope this was helpful. If you would like to book a private reading with me, or if you are a student of astrology, want to learn more about apprenticeships and mentorships, or if you want to commit to some regular weekly spiritual, astrological, psychological growth practices, come join me in the Hidden Wisdom Astrology Circle. You can find more about all of that, including season 4 of the podcast, at electraastrology.com.